It seems like ever since the Panthers hired Frank Reich, it's been big time coaching hire after big time coaching hire in terms of building up this staff. It all started with the Jerry Rivero, and the latest one is Jim Caldwell, former head coach of the Detroit Lions and the Indianapolis Colts, being hired along as a senior assistant coach to help with offense, defense, and special teams. This is a huge hire because Jim Caldwell has a ridiculous pedigree. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the simple fact that the Panthers actually interviewed Caldwell for the head coaching opportunity and was still able to bring him back says a lot. This is now the third coach that they interviewed for the head coaching opportunity that they've been brought on and hired. So this says a lot. But in this video, we're going to talk about what all these coaching hires mean, because there's a big message being put out to the NFL and just fans for the Panthers that a lot of people aren't talking about. We're going to get into that. We're starting right now. What up, dude? My name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk, bringing you recap analysis of the Panthers. So if you want to see videos like this, film breakdowns, draft content, all the whole 9 yards, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you stay up to date on everything that I do. And also give the video a thumbs up if you really appreciate the content, because I really appreciate you giving the thumbs up. It takes a lot of work to put into this stuff. With all these headlines coming out, I'm trying to stay on top of it. So just a little engagement with the little thumbs up goes a long way for your boy. And let me know down below in the comments, how are you feeling about this Panthers coaching staff thus far? They made some big time hires on this staff. I want to get you guys' thoughts before I go ahead and give my spiel. So let me know down below in the comments. Hey, before we get into the video, I just want to let you guys know, you may or may not know, because you may be new here, I actually launched a podcast recently called the Panther Banter Podcast, where I talk about things related to the Panthers that may not be just like the X's and O's or current news like I do here on the channel. It gives a little bit different perspective on just what's going on with the Panthers as a whole and just how things go. I actually dropped my first video a while ago that premiered with Coach 30. You might have seen him on TikTok or Instagram. Go check that episode out. But I'm actually dropping another episode soon talking about what the Panthers can learn from that Super Bowl game and what the biggest takeaways. It'll be dope. So make sure you guys go check it out. It'll be an audio experience. I have the link down below in the description. Audio only for now. Video will be coming eventually, I guess. But if you want to stay up to date and get on it right away, get on that audio experience, guys. I appreciate it. So reports are that many teams actually wanted to bring on Jim Caldwell for a few years now. And obviously we know sometimes the struggle of getting hired on as a head coach as a black coach is a little bit tough. Even with Caldwell being an offensive-minded coach, he still struggled to find a head coaching opportunity. And it seems like he was holding out for one of those. So for the Panthers to actually be able to bring him on as a senior assistant tells me a couple things. One, he couldn't find any other opportunities, which is tragic. But two, David Tepper probably opened up that checkbook for Jim Caldwell, of all people, to pass on all these other opportunities that people offered him as an assistant to come to Charlotte. Man, listen, David Tepper has finally been literally putting his money where the mouth is. Less talking, more cutting checks. If you're the second richest owner in the league, let's have something to show for it. And that's exactly what's going on in this offseason, because the Panthers are top 5 coaching staff at this point. It's hard to argue because they have three guys that are former head coaches. Jim Caldwell himself has 2 Super Bowl rings as an assistant. Obviously, he coached Peyton Manning, Stafford, Joe Flacco. This guy is one of the best quarterback developers in the league, which is crazy to me why he hasn't been able to get other opportunities as a head coach, because when it comes to just pedigree from a championship perspective and working with quality quarterbacks, Jim Caldwell is the guy. You know, he was Peyton Manning's quarterback coach under Tony Dungy when they won the Super Bowl. He also went to the Super Bowl with those guys, with Peyton Manning. Also went to Detroit. He has one of the best winning percentages as a coach in Detroit history. They still got rid of him. Matt Stafford had good years under him. They still got rid of him. Regardless, he ends up here in Charlotte, no matter how his journey is going. But this is a huge hire because, like I said, we are putting a staff together of people that's going to be able to develop or get the best out of any quarterback. And we'll talk about some of the other names that were hired that tells me some other things as well, just like Josh McCown. Josh McCown was hired as a quarterback coach. Now, Josh McCown was in the running to be the Texans head coach last year, but I think the backlash they got from obviously the Rooney Rule and him being so inexperienced and nepotism, they kind of fell back and went with Lovie Smith. Obviously, Livy only got a year. Things changed, went downhill. That's another story for another day. But Josh McCown going from being a potential head coaching candidate to our quarterback coach tells me a lot too. Tells me he's highly regarded. He doesn't have much NFL coaching experience, but the fact that he was an NFL quarterback for over 19 years and spent a lot of times with a lot of teams. He's not as much of a journeyman as Ryan Fitzmagic, but he's been around the block, including here in Charlotte and Carolina. This guy used to wear the black and blue. Yes, so Josh McCown returns to Carolina, but as a coach now. Like I said, 19 years of experience playing quarterback, and he was a free agent early on, and he was putting out content, working for Underdog Fantasy. He actually put out in-depth breakdowns of all the quarterbacks coming out. Very good watches. Look up Scheme, Scheme, on YouTube, and you'll find him looking at different film breakdowns of the top guys coming out this year. Very insightful with how he's thinking and who he may want to work with and who he may be pounding the table for when it comes to who the Panthers draft. Another thing that people are kind of saying is that, oh, McCown actually spent some time playing with the Jets and Sam Darnold. Maybe he has a little soft spot for Sam Darnold and bring back Sam. I'm going to humbly pass and disagree there because I just think that I think you're beating a dead horse by trying to get the most out of Sam. It's not really worth it. It's time to move on. We have a new coaching staff. Let's just wipe our hands with Sam Darnold and proceed to move on. But regardless, on the offensive side of the ball, Jim Caldwell and Josh McCown are great hires for the position that they're in. However, we still have an opening at the offensive coordinator spot. What does that mean? I know Brian Johnson was being rumored. I was one of my personal favorites, the Eagles quarterback coach, with Shane Steichen being hired by the Colts. He may travel. Brian Johnson may travel with them. He may also get promoted with the Eagles, so he may stay there. However, I told you about that checkbook. Sometimes money talks. Sometimes money talks for sure. So Brian Johnson could still be an option. But we've also heard rumors of Thomas Brown, who is the tight ends coach and assistant coach for the Rams, who was, some people rumored that he was the kind of the heir apparent that Sean McVay was training up to be that guy. He has some experience. He's a former running back out of Georgia. You may remember him if you're old enough like me. Thomas Brown actually played with Matt Stafford. Thomas Brown is one of the next guys up because I think him being an offensive coordinator would be great because we have a lot of quarterback gurus when it comes to Jim Caldwell, Frank Reich, Josh McCown. We need a guy that's kind of neutral. Thomas Brown has that tight end background, but also running back coach background. The reason why he became a tight ends coach because a lot of times tight ends coaches have to worry about the blocking scheme, but they also have to worry about the running scheme, of course, but also the receiving game because of tight ends. So you get a good job of understanding everything, and that's a little kind of a pipeline path that a lot of coaches and assistant coaches are using now because you get to test the best of both worlds instead of just one position group. You get to learn the full body of the offense. Regardless, we know what happens to the Sean McVay coaching tree. Guys get hired left and right. So getting Thomas Brown as the OC would be another home run hire. He's actually probably my new favorite because it seems like Brian Johnson is probably going to be staying with the Eagles. All this tells me, though, the message that I was telling you guys is I think that it's almost guaranteed that the Panthers are taking a young quarterback. I just don't see them putting all these brilliant quarterback minds together to not get a young guy to train up. Because at this point, with the staff we have, if we get a few more weapons on offense, with the O-line that we have, if we replenish the interior because of the injuries, this is set up. We are set up as a whole team to support a college quarterback, a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, regardless of what you want to call it. Because with all the resources we have, if a quarterback fails in our system, I mean, it could be coaching, but more likely than not, it's going to be on that actual quarterback. So now it's all left up to picking the right guy. Starting with Fitterer, and it's a collaborative approach with everybody else. Hopefully there's not too many guys pulling in different directions. They can get on the same page. However, I am fully convinced that they're taking a quarterback in the first round. Now, which one will it be? We'll get into that a little bit more as the draft process continues to develop. You guys may know I'm probably leaning obviously towards Young and Stroud. Stroud may be personally one of my favorites, but not mad at either of the top four. I think any of the top four have shown me enough potential on tape to be able to thrive with the good coaching we have, the running game that we're going to have established with this O-line, and like I said, the weapons that we have now and that we are going to continue to add this offseason. So I think the writing is pretty much on the wall for the Panthers to go ahead and take a quarterback this year. Now, will we go with a vet? Probably. But I honestly think that Jacoby Brissett would be a better option than a Derek Carr. Spending that extra money with Derek Carr, I think Jacoby Brissett played good enough for the Browns that you can have this team competitive enough. He actually knows his role. He's not going to get his feelings hurt. He doesn't want a long-term deal either. He understands what he's walking into. Versus a Derek Carr, he's going to want to keep playing, which makes sense. It's fine. But eventually, I want to see our rookie quarterback get some action in year one. It may not be from day one, but in year one, I want to see some action from him. Regardless, the Panthers are doing everything in their power, lay out a path for a rookie quarterback to come in and immediately thrive. I'm all for it, man, because we're doing things the right way, and it just feels good to have this kind of coaching staff and this kind of hires versus trying to think outside the box and do things like the Matt Rule experiment, where instead of you go with the more experienced options, you go with the lack of experience, trying to get the next great hot shot inside track to find, I guess, a diamond in the rough. Regardless, the Panthers are doing the right thing, but it does not matter until we get this quarterback. If you haven't learned anything from watching that Super Bowl, a quarterback matters. It matters a lot. So we have to get that done. That's definitely on our to-do list for this offseason. Just to add a little nugget on, obviously we hired Dom Capers. Dom Capers was hired as a senior defensive assistant. I like the framework of what they're doing. You take the young guy in Jerry Rivera, who's a little bit inexperienced, but you also bring in his mentor in Dom Capers, somebody that's older that can help show him the way as he gets his legs up underneath him. He only has 1 year of being a defensive coordinator, does a Jerry Rivera. So having that mentor has been an OG, triple OG in the NFL like Dom Capers does a lot. Now, Dom Capers, obviously, he returns to the Panthers. He was the first coach in team history. So now we have the first coach in team history and the first quarterback. You can get all the nostalgia feels. You know, I'm all about the nostalgia my dang self. That's why I got this fire throwback hat on. You know what I'm saying? You can't get this just anywhere in stores. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about the nostalgia. But I appreciate what the framework is. Now, it seems like David Tepper is finally going to fall back and let the football people do football things. Actually hire people that know what they're doing, that have experience. That way, you ain't got to do nothing but sit back, cut the checks, and collect the checks. And you can actually worry about that stuff in Rock Hill or find a new training camp spot too. You got better things to worry about, David Tepper. You got people trying to sue you and all that stuff. So let the football people handle the football stuff, and it looks exactly what David Tepper appears to be doing. However, like I said, there's still work to be done. Still need that good OC. We have to get that quarterback, but coaching matters, but we definitely need that quarterback. We didn't learn anything from the Super Bowl. You guys let me know how you feel about the hires that's recently happened and who would be your inside track pick for offensive coordinator as well if you had a choice. Without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Peace.